What's up, everyone? In this video, I am finally going to get started working on the house, and I am going to just jump right into it and show you exactly what I'm doing. Let's get to it. So we're back, same day as the last video, and I am going to get started on a little bit more demo. I currently have the dogs locked up, so if you hear them whining behind me talking, that's why. They're just back over here, hanging out. Jeffrey's not too happy, but Sasha doesn't mind, so it's all right. So what I'm gonna be doing today is trying to get up all this tile. I don't know how hard it's gonna be, and I don't think it's gonna be super easy just because they did it correctly and laid the backer board underneath, so it's just gonna be super time intensive, I think, to get ripped up. So without further ado, I am going to mess around and start ripping all that up. Let's see how that goes. All right, it's been a little while and I realized that the hand scraper is not gonna be the trick because as soon as I hit screws in the cement board, it's just stopping me dead in my tracks. So I am not gonna be able to get this up without the Makita, and that's just a hammer drill with a little attachment that it's basically a small jackhammer more or less, and I'm gonna see if that does the trick, but my brother has it, so I am not gonna be able to do that right now. So I kind of switched gears and started picking up the tile in the living room. It's just a sticky laminate and it's kind of garbage, but as I was picking that up, I just realized that if it's all sticky, it's just not gonna be a good time. So I'm just gonna deal with it. And I am getting a call, so I will check back in just a second. So, like I said, I am having a big issue with doing all this without power tools. So what I'm going to do is switch gears from working on this, which I'll show you actually really quick, which I was running into issues with this as I was hitting some screws that hold down the actual concrete backer board, and once I hit those screws, it's pretty much game over. Like, you can't actually swing the scraper into that and break those nails. So I'm going to start breaking out this drywall because I need to run all new plumbing. There's a weird drain line right there for the old water, I think, and that was leaking at some point, causing mold. So it's just a whole mishmash of stuff that needs to get done. So essentially, I'm gonna go probably a foot above where that backsplash is, because you can see where the cabinet was sitting above it. So I'm gonna go a little bit higher than that so I don't have to finish like I did in my how to remodel your kitchen for $1,000 video. So I'm not actually gonna have to do any mudding. I can just hang the drywall and then do my new backsplash over it. What I'm essentially going to do is rip out all the way across as far down as my cabinets are gonna go. So I'm gonna get on that because I think I'm actually gonna be able to do it. As I was editing that clip, I realized that you watched me pull out the other wall that I didn't mention when I was talking about my plans. And what I was doing was, I noticed that there was mold growing on the bottom of them, and I wanted to see if there was still mold behind the drywall itself. So I pulled out a little section of it and there was still a lot of mold. And then I pulled out another little section and realized that there was even more mold. So I decided to rip out that whole wall, and I'll show you kind of what I was looking at. In this front corner, you'll see that there's just some black mold back in there that was growing, and you get a little bit more in that corner, and it just works its way down even further. But I think the problem was this copper line that was inside of the wall was causing condensation, and it was just making it wet inside that wall. I don't think it was a leak or anything. So the fact that there was condensation and stagnant air, that's just a recipe for mold. So the best way to get rid of that is to not use copper lines.
So getting back to work the next day, I really didn't want to wait for my brother to bring over the Makita, so I just started going at this with my girlfriend, and we started sledgehammering all of the tile, and that was breaking up pretty well. So we ended up doing all of the tile, and then you can see there Carly started to rip up a little bit of the cement board to see if it would work, and it did. So we decided to keep going. And what we're going to end up doing in order to rip up the cement board is just grab a pry bar and shove it under it and slowly work it up. Now when you lift the cement board with the pry bar, it's going to leave all the nails in the floor, so you want to make sure that you pick all those up because it is a hazard as far as stepping on it. And if you're living in the house like I am and you have dogs, you don't want anyone getting hurt, so you got to be super careful as far as picking those up.
So it's the end of another day, and I am going to show you a little update of everything that we got done. I had my girlfriend Carly helping me out today, and it went pretty well. She did a lot better than me on the sledgehammer, and that was when we were breaking out the tile, and then we started lifting the cement board from underneath the tile and getting all the nails out of the ground. And we did a little bit of work down in the basement too. So I'm gonna run over exactly what we did really quick. I think we're gonna start up front. So this was all that tile that was in the kitchen, and it was just this tan, ugly tile, kind of similar to this stuff actually. But yeah, it was just the little front entrance area was tiled and then into that closet. And we also got the fireplace area completely ripped out. We ripped out the lower, I think it's called a mantle. I'm not 100% sure, but that was just all concrete. So we blew that out, and then all throughout here was tile, and I started ripping up some of the other sticky stuff. But this is the back where the kitchen is, and you can still see there's a lot of the broken up tile, and you can still see the backer board that's still on the ground. I didn't get all of it ripped up, but we made some pretty good progress today. It's so much work to deal with all that stuff. So I'm happy with how far we got. Sounds like Sasha's coming around the corner. It's an old 13-year-old pug living her best life. And as far as the basement goes, we finished tearing out all the drywall that was on that wall, and then all the drywall that was on the ceilings. We still need to get all the nails out. And we also ripped out the drop ceiling in the back. And while I was doing this, I realized that they did a very, very bad job with all of this wiring. And it's just so janky with how they ran it from the panel, which is on that wall in the garage. And it's just not safe how they did it. It looks like they ran a bunch of wires through this tube and are using it as a junction box or maybe like a sub panel. The wires for the lights, there's two hots up there, which I don't completely understand. And the one of them was just sitting in the junction box live with no cap on it. And when I pulled it out, it popped. And then it was running over from the lights, which there was another one right there. And it was going down the wall and into this outlet. And it's just not how you do it. And then have this shut off acting as a junction box right now. You can kind of see in there that there's a wire cap, but that should really just be a shut off for the dryer, which is another ridiculous thing that they did. What really made me mad was how they set everything up in this room. They ended up taking the wires that go upstairs, which is these black ones, and they were running all of the outlets, which there's one right there off of the wall, and then there's two more down there. There's one there, but they had more than just that. And so I started ripping all of that out. And when I was ripping it out, I started looking closer at the house's wiring, and they didn't use junction boxes. They just electrical taped all of the wires for the outlets. And it's right now it's ran on two different circuits for the two different bedrooms, but every single connection is like that. And I'm not sure if they soldered it underneath. I really hope they did and didn't just wire cap and tape it, because that's no way to wire a house. For the love of God, do not do that if you're doing any wiring in your own home. And then you can see there's another black wire up in there that they just tapped into and used and power that outlet that was on the wall there. and then that one jumped over to those ones. It was just an absolute nightmare. So with all that being said, I don't really trust the wiring that they did, and I think I'm just gonna go through and just redo everything in the house, rewire the panel, and run new Romex throughout the house just so I know everything was right. My brother demoed the kitchen and he said the wiring in the kitchen was just as janky, so I think I'm just gonna bite the bullet and go ahead and redo it all. It shouldn't be too bad to do because luckily this whole lower area is all access to the first floor. Well, I should say the top floor. And then in the garage, you've got drywall on the ceiling, which we're just gonna rip out anyways and redo all the wiring. And then back in that corner is the electrical panel. So that wraps another day up with working on the house that I just bought and I am currently living in as a renovation. I hope you liked what I did today. It wasn't super exciting. However, some of the stuff that I found is pretty interesting as far as what you can get into in a home renovation. Sometimes you don't expect the worst, but you need to be able to bounce back when you find something that's not right. So with that being said, make sure if you like this series of me working on houses to subscribe so you can keep up with all of my going-ons, and we will catch you in the next video. See ya.